watching College Football Now, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we are 2 weeks in to the college football season. We will give you an updated look at your college football playoff projections for the first ever 12-team playoff. We're going to talk some bracketology, how things stack up right now. If the season were to end today, we'll dissect it all coming up in just a matter of moments here on today's show. Now, unless your team's named Florida State, your team likely still has a shot to make the college football playoff at this point. If you want your team to make the college football playoff, wish them luck. Like the video. Send some good vibes at your team's direction as the season is still very young. Like the video, and we'll get started here on today's show. Let's begin with the Georgia Bulldogs. We are projecting them to be the SEC champions. They've looked very strong throughout the first 2 weeks of the season. A dominating win against Clemson week 1, and there's no sign that Kirby Smart and company is going to slow things down anytime soon. Carson Beck looks like one of, if not the very best players in college football as well. Ohio State we have as the number 2 seed and the Big Ten champion. The Buckeyes 2-0 to begin the season, but they still have some big tests coming up here in the very near future. All eyes are going to be on that Oregon game that they'll be facing on October 12th. Third, the Utah Utes had a dominating win against the Baylor Bears over the weekend at home in a non-conference game against their fellow Big 12 foes. Something to monitor, though. Quarterback Cam Rising with a hand injury. We'll see if that keeps him out for an extended period of time. But nonetheless, the Utah Utes looking very good through the first 2 weeks. Number 4, we find our projected ACC champion, the Miami Hurricanes. Miami with a huge win against Florida week 1 on the road. Cam Ward's been fantastic. They look like a complete football team. And so that takes up the first 4 spots of the highest-ranked conference champions that would give them all first-round byes. So where do we go from here? Well, the eyes of Texas are upon Steve Sarkisian and company after a very good win in the Big House against Michigan. Our boss, James Yoder, was there, and he was so happy for the University of Texas for the way they performed, that they were able to get it done and come through with that much-needed victory. He was just outstanding. He couldn't be more excited for UT the way they played. Number 6, we find Tennessee. Man, Tennessee's looking pretty good here to start the season. Nico has been fantastic at the quarterback spot. The youngster's looked like he's much older than what he actually is. He's maturing very fast and took on an NC State team that had a pretty good quarterback in Grayson McCall and company, and they just shut them down from start to finish. Really good game for Tennessee. At 7, this is what I think is arguably the biggest surprise of this playoff projection compared to what we're at the beginning of the season. USC through 2 weeks has looked really good. Miller Moss has been solid at the quarterback position, but the big story for Lincoln Riley and the Trojans is what they're doing on defense. A shutout performance last week against Utah State. Then they slowed down LSU the week prior. LSU, I think, is still going to be a decent football team as well. Good start for USC, and watch out. Let's see what they do when they take on Michigan at the Big House here in a couple of weeks. Number 8, we find the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama with a shutout win against Western Kentucky week 1. Started a little slow this past week against South Florida, but had a nice finish to that game. Kalen DeBoer and company set to take on Wisconsin this week for their first Power 5 road game, or Power 4, I guess, road game of the season, with a big noon kickoff on site there as well. The final playoff spots in our bracketology. Number 9, Ole Miss gets an at-large bid. We have them 9 just based on they haven't played anybody just yet, but that resume will improve as the season goes along, and they'll have more chances to climb up the ladder when it comes to playoff seeding, and we feel pretty high on Ole Miss around here. Number 10, the Oregon Ducks. Oregon has not looked good through 2 weeks. They struggled with Idaho. They struggled with Boise State, gave up a lot of points at home, but I still believe in this Oregon team that they're going to figure things out sooner than later. Dylan Gabriel, I think, is still a very good quarterback. They get some good pieces on that defense there. Dan Lanning is too good of a coach not to get this thing going. Eventually, I think Oregon's going to be fine. They're going to be okay. So we'll still put them at the 10 spot, though. The Boise State win, though, even though it was close, it's still a quality win against a team that could be the best team in the group of 5, potentially. Number 11, the final at-large spot we'll give to Penn State. I know they didn't look too great this past week in their performance, but Penn State, I thought I saw enough week 1 that we can still feel confident in giving them the last at-large spot. And then the group of 5 spot, how about this? Northern Illinois with the upset of the year in college football, going into South Bend and beating Notre Dame. They start out the year 2-0 and have a huge edge on everybody else to get that group of 5 spot. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on Boise State with going toe-to-toe with Oregon. They're going to be in contention there, but you have to have Northern Illinois in that spot right now. We'll see what they do when it comes to the rest of conference play in the MAC and what they do with their strength of schedule, but certainly a big win for them to beat Notre Dame, and they get that spot for now as that number 12 team. So that is our bracketology. We'll go over the potential matchups and how we see the playoffs shaking out if we were to begin today in just a moment. But let's ask you about Northern Illinois. Will Northern Illinois make the college football playoff? Was it a one-hit wonder of them beating Notre Dame, or are they going to go on and win out from here? Weigh in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Y for yes, N for no. Today's show is sponsored by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. Look, I found this job through LinkedIn, and you can find a job through LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn's got you covered to find the best jobs and the best quality candidates that they have to offer. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/CFCHAT. That's linkedin.com/CFChat to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. All right, so with our 12 teams, here is what the first round would look like. Texas would face Northern Illinois in a first-round matchup in Austin. Meanwhile, Tennessee would host Penn State in Knoxville. What a matchup that could potentially be between those two powerhouse programs. USC and Oregon, who do not play each other this year in the Big Ten, surprisingly, would meet for the first time in the playoffs between two conference foes. That game would take place in Los Angeles. And then Alabama would face Ole Miss, two SEC teams squaring off in Tuscaloosa. So with that, I would project Alabama to beat Ole Miss at home, and then they would face Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. So that could be a potential SEC championship game rematch, maybe, within the Sugar Bowl there. So move from Atlanta to New Orleans, I guess. A little tour of the Southeast for those two. Then we get Ohio State and Oregon, potentially for the third meeting of the year. They're going to meet on October 12th, potentially in the Big Ten championship game, and then maybe in the playoffs as well. In this case, they face off in the Rose Bowl as we project Oregon to win their first-round matchup in an upset against USC. Then we get Utah and Tennessee in the Fiesta Bowl for all the Tostitos. We project that Tennessee would beat Penn State and face Utah there, that game in Glendale. And then Miami versus Texas in the Peach Bowl. Texas handles business against Northern Illinois with Cam Ward and Miami awaiting there in Atlanta. And from there, we would project that Georgia would face Texas, that Texas would indeed beat Miami. I think it would be a pretty good football game, though. Then that would set up Georgia and Texas in the Orange Bowl down in Miami. And then Ohio State gets the win over Oregon in the head-to-head matchup for what could be the third time. And then Tennessee ends up pulling off the win in their matchup against Utah, which would be an upset as well, setting up Ohio State versus Tennessee in the Cotton Bowl. And then the national championship game will go with the top two teams, Georgia and Ohio State, to meet in the championship game in Atlanta, which would be very good for Georgia to play a national title game there in Atlanta. And it would be the third game of the season for them that they would get to play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in their backyard. So that is where our bracketology stands right now. Who will win the college football playoff national championship? If you had to make your pick right now, I'm leaning towards the Georgia Bulldogs at the moment. I've seen no reason to waver on that thought. What do you guys think? Chime in and let us know. We are bringing you college football content all year long here on College Football Now by Chat Sports. And you may be saying to yourself, I wish these guys did more college football instead of, NFL or MLB or NBA. Well, folks, if you want more college football content, then you got to subscribe and let the bosses know that you want us to do more college football coverage. We can do so, but you got to let your voice be heard loud and clear. Subscribe now for free for college football coverage you won't find anywhere else. We're talking everything from transfer portal to NIL to recruiting, game previews, the playoff, and more. It's all right here on College Football Now by Chat Sports. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. Week 3 in college football. Here's a few games to watch this weekend. It all gets started on Friday night. The brand new Fox College Football Friday series begins with number 20 Arizona at number 14 Kansas State. That'll get started at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Big Fox Network. Two high-powered offenses going head-to-head here. Who's going to be able to get enough stops? Who's going to be able to create enough turnovers? Might be first to 50 to determine who wins that game. Number 4, Alabama travels on the road to Camp Randall to take on Wisconsin. What will Wisconsin bring to the table? Can they make this game interesting at all? We shall see. But a very fascinating game there for the Alabama Crimson Tide to go on the road there. That game gets started 12 p.m. Eastern on Fox on Big Noon Saturday. College game day going to be in South Carolina as at number 16 LSU will face the South Carolina Gamecocks. South Carolina with an upset last week over Kentucky. And now Shane Beamer and company looking to keep the momentum going. LSU looking to get back on track after that Week 1 loss to USC. That game will get started 12 noon on ABC. A little SEC and ABC action. That theme song is terrible, by the way. Then you have number 24, Boston College at number 6, Missouri. Boston College had a nice win Week 1 against Florida State. Mizzou has looked really good so far to this point. We did not include them in our playoff projections. I think Mizzou's going to get exposed sooner than later, maybe even this week potentially. Top 25 matchup there. That gets started 12:45 Eastern on SEC Network. And then it's the Civil War. Number 9, Oregon out of the Big Ten, taking on Oregon State of the Pac-12 or Pac-2, whatever you want to call it. That game gets started at 3:30 Eastern Time from Corvallis, and that game will be seen on Fox. So it looks like Fox has all the good games this week. There are some of the top matchups. Who wins the Arizona-Kansas State game? That, to me, I don't necessarily think it's the best game this weekend, but that's the one I'm most interested in. I think that's going to be the most fun matchup of the weekend. You going Arizona, or are you going with the Wildcats at K-State? Type A for Arizona, K for K-State. Weigh in and let us know. If you enjoyed today's show, you want your team to make the college football playoff, wish them luck. Even if you're a Florida State fan, you might as well like the video because there's some crazy things that could still happen. Let us know. Like the video. We certainly would appreciate it. I'm Tyler Jones. See you next time here on College Football Now.